Thank you, truly, to everyone watching this. Your time means more than I can ever express. Every view, every comment, every share. It keeps stories like this alive, and I appreciate each of you for that. It started like any other Wednesday. The rain tapped softly against the windows, a kind of rhythm that usually made our tiny apartment feel cozy. I had my morning coffee in hand, still half asleep, scrolling through emails when her laptop lit up on the kitchen counter. My fiancée, Emma, was already in her Zoom meeting, headphones on, voice barely above a whisper. And then I heard it. God, I hope he does, she murmured. The words were delicate, almost lost beneath the hum of her laptop. But they struck me like a punch to the gut. I froze mid-sip, my mug slipping from my fingers, splattering coffee across the counter. My heart raced, a low thrum of panic creeping through me. Who was she talking to? Who was she hoping would do what? I wanted to look away, tell myself I'd misheard, but I couldn't. I couldn't unhear it. For the rest of the day, that phrase replayed in my mind, twisting my stomach into knots. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was work-related, a project, a colleague. But the tone, the softness, the hope threaded through it. It wasn't professional. It was intimate. Days passed, each one heavier than the last. I watched her carefully, noting little things I had never noticed before. The way her eyes flicked toward her phone whenever it buzzed. How her laughter sometimes faltered when I entered a room. How she suddenly became protective of her laptop, closing it quickly if I leaned too close. I hated the suspicion creeping into my mind, but I couldn't stop it. The seed had been planted. One evening, I found myself alone in the living room while Emma worked late on a client presentation. I heard the soft ping of her messages and, against my better judgment, leaned closer to her laptop, trying to see what could be so urgent. Just a glimpse, I promised myself. That glimpse shattered everything. Texts filled with intimacy and inside jokes, the kind you reserve for someone who knows the curves of your soul. My name wasn't there. I wasn't the one who made her whisper, God, I hope he does. I realized then, with a sinking clarity, that I had been living alongside a stranger masquerading as the woman I loved. Anger rose first. Sharp, volcanic, burning through the careful veneer I'd maintained. I wanted to confront her, to demand the truth, to scream. But fear held me back. Fear of what her answer might be. Fear that this beautiful life we had built together was just a fiction. I couldn't face the possibility of losing everything in a single moment, so I stayed silent, watching, collecting pieces of her betrayal in quiet observation. It wasn't immediate. Betrayal, I learned, is often a slow drip, not a waterfall. I noticed how she would sometimes work late and leave me on the couch with the TV playing empty background noise. I saw how her phone calls ended abruptly when I entered a room. I overheard fragments of laughter that didn't include me. Each moment was a new clue, a puzzle I didn't want to solve, but couldn't ignore. The breaking point came one Saturday. I had pretended to leave for a jog but circled back, parking a block away and watching the building from my car. I saw her meet someone, an embrace, a kiss, the kind of closeness I thought we had. My hands shook, gripping the steering wheel, tears stinging my eyes. The betrayal was no longer a whisper, a shadow, or a suspicion. It was vivid, undeniable, a living thing. I confronted her that night, and the words I had rehearsed 1,000 times evaporated the moment I saw her face. The Emma I loved, the woman who laughed at my terrible jokes and held my hand in the dark, looked at me with a mixture of guilt and surprise, as if she hadn't expected me to see. It's not what you think, she said, voice trembling. But her eyes, those eyes I had trusted with my entire heart, told the truth I didn't want to hear. I left the apartment that night and walked without direction, letting the cold air bite into me, letting the city's lights blur through my tears. I thought about our plans, the apartment, the wedding we'd imagined so vividly together. Every memory felt poisoned. And yet, every memory also reminded me why the loss hurt so deeply. Over the next weeks, I rebuilt myself in the quiet aftermath. I surrounded myself with friends who listened, who didn't flinch at the jagged edges of my sorrow. I learned to exist with the absence of someone who was never truly there for me. I hated her, yes, and I mourned her, but more than anything, I learned to mourn the version of us that had never really existed. There were moments of weakness, of longing, when I wanted to call her, to beg for explanations I knew I didn't need, to reclaim some fragment of the life we had. But every time I imagined her whispering that same line, "God, I hope he does," I felt my spine straighten. She had chosen another path, and my heart, battered and bruised, would follow its own. Months later, I found peace in unexpected places. In early morning runs, in books that transported me far from my apartment, in conversations that reminded me I wasn't invisible, that I wasn't broken beyond repair. I kept the apartment we shared empty for a while, letting her absence mark the space she had betrayed, until finally, I moved on, slowly, painfully, but with purpose. I still hear echoes sometimes, the faintest whisper of that fateful phrase, but now it serves not as a wound, but as a reminder. A reminder that love can be beautiful and devastating, that trust is fragile, and that the heart, though bruised, can heal, grow stronger, and learn to hope again. And so, to everyone watching this story, thank you again for sharing this space with me. Life will hand us heartbreaks we never imagined, betrayals that cut deeper than words, and moments that make us question everything we hold dear. But it will also hand us resilience, moments of clarity, and the chance to reclaim ourselves, stronger than before. Because in the end, love is not about losing someone who doesn't value you. It's about finding the strength to love yourself enough to walk away, and the courage to embrace a future unclouded by someone else's choices.